Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cascadia Inswinger. As always, I'm Eddie Smith with my co-host, John Floresca. So we're going to be talking Seattle versus Portland in this one. It was a great match for Portland as they got the win, but could it have been a bigger loss for them in the injury with Blanco? We will be talking about that in this episode. We're going to get through the match first, and then we'll get to Blanco's injury right after that, because we could be talking about Blanco's injury for an entire episode. So, John, let's talk about the match.
All right, just focusing on the match. It's really hard to do, but I am very excited because the man who scored the first goal had a phenomenal game. Eric Williamson passes the ball to none other than Diego Valeri, who then gives a nice, just the sweetest little flick with the outside of his boot back to Williamson for the first goal of the game in the 9th minute. If you haven't seen that goal, you need to check it out because it was gorgeous. And it just shows that Eric Williamson is rounding out into a star player for this Timbers team, the star player that they're going to need as this season carries on. I got to watch the game through the Portland Timbers telecast, and they were saying before the match even began that Eric Williamson hopes to become one of the villains of this matchup. He wants to be like the Diego Charas, the Clint Dempseys, the Ozzy Alonso. He wants to be one of those players. And there's no better way to do that than to score a goal on the road. So that's good for him.
For sure, he really just cut through the Seattle defense. I think he went through 6 defenders for Seattle to get to that. I mean, and you have to also give a lot of credit to Valeri. He's up there in age, and he's still just showing that age is just a number. I've been saying this the entire season. Age is just a number with Valeri, as he just puts a nice little give and go flick back to Williamson. And I mean, that ball was going in the back of the net no matter what.
Yeah, it was a world-class play. Put Portland up early 1-0, and I've said it numerous times this season. Portland is the last team you want to play against down 1-0. I was ready for them to shut the door on Seattle and win 1-0. To be honest, this Portland defense can be that good with the lead. Seattle was able to scrap and get a goal back, though. It was not a pretty buildup that led to the goal, but Kelvin Leerdam ended up finding himself at the top of the box with some space and just one-timed the ball into the back of the net. Fun fact about him, he is the leading scorer amongst defenders in the last 2 seasons. So good for Kevin Leerdam on that one.
And also good for Seattle having that piece in the back for him. And at that point in the match, I was thinking, hey, my prediction's looking pretty good, because I said Portland's probably going to get the first goal in this match. And I said Seattle was going to come out victorious, and getting that goal at the end of the first half, I was thinking, hey, that's putting Seattle in a great position. Going into halftime, you're feeling pretty good. But going into the second half, it just wasn't in the cards. It was pretty even throughout the second half. And then in the 83rd minute, Mora for Portland was able to just bust through and get a goal for Portland to finish it off.
And that Mora goal was assisted by Eric Williamson. So he had a goal and an assist in this one to end the game 2-1 in Portland's favor. Seattle, at the end of this one, is ruining missed chances. Raul Ruidiaz had a one-on-one with the goalkeeper at the end of the first half that he blew. Jordan Morris had a decent opportunity, which I don't think was Morris's fault. The keeper actually made a good save on that one. And then even at the end of the game, Miguel Ibarra had one that was at the doorstep that he should have tapped in that he failed to do. So Seattle had opportunities to tie this game or even win this game, but they didn't. Instead, Portland's walking away with a 2-1 victory and redeems themselves after losing 3-0 at home just 2 weeks ago. But my question to you, Eddie, is Portland feeling like this is a victory, 3 points gained, or did they just lose their best player for the rest of the season?
Well, definitely 3 points gained, especially against your biggest rival. You're always going to take those 3 points. Is it with a grain of salt? Yes. because now you're looking to your next match and thinking, oh crap, we got one of our big name players out for
At
who
least a
knows how
year.
long. At least a year. Will he be back next season? I mean, obviously that doesn't matter right now for this season because he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So how do you take care of that void?
Yeah.
But definitely you are feeling happy that you did get those 3 points, especially against your biggest rival.
If you haven't read the news report, uh, Sebastian Blanco does have an ACL tear, which is a 365-day recovery at minimum. What happened to Jordan Morris a couple seasons ago. Um, it's really unfortunate timing. Not that there's ever good timing for an injury like this, because this season is so short, so every game matters that much more. But he's going to miss a huge, huge portion of next season. If he can't play again till next September at the earliest, if next season's a regular season, which it should be, that's going to be probably 75% of the season. So this is a massive blow for Portland. And it's been written about a few times on MLS.com. I've seen a couple different articles on it saying that this is going to be Savarese's truest test. Is there any player in particular that you see making it so Portland doesn't get as negatively impacted by this? Who do you see stepping up to the plate in his absence?
Honestly, I think Williamson. I think he has stepped up pretty well so far, and I think he's going to continue to step up. I think it's not going to really be just an individual effort. It's going to be a team effort when it comes to Portland. They've always shown when it comes to how they play, it's never just individual player, just usually individual players. It's always been a team effort because Portland hasn't been the club to bring in the big names like Dempsey or Obafemi Martins or uh, any of those players that have come to Cascadia. And so it's definitely going to be a team effort for the most part for Portland, but I think they can prevail on it.
I'm hoping that Ibobasi takes this opportunity and says, I could be that guy, because it's the Valeri and Blanco show. It's been the Valeri and Blanco show for a few years in Portland. Blanco is now gone. So Valeri will get to step back up to the plate and continue to do what he always does. And with the shortened season, I think he's going to be able to handle that workload. But I really hope to see Abobasi step up, not just for the Timbers' sake, but for the U.S. men's national team. If he can really start to round out as a player, then we could see Abobasi get some more caps with the U.S. men's national team.
During the MIB tournament, I remember listening to the commentators talking about Valeri and stepping into a new role of being the super sub.
That's
And
gone.
with Blanco out, Valeri's in.
Yeah.
Like for sure he's going to be starting just about every match. He's not going to be able to slip into retirement anymore. He's the man.
He is the man, and he's going to have to be the man in their first game without Blanco, because they are playing LAFC on Sunday, a game that we are normally chalking up to be a tough one. However, I don't think it's going to be that tough, because LAFC is playing very, very poorly right now. Very poorly.
Yeah, after a 5-1 victory over San Jose, which we have now learned is not that big of a deal.
Worst team in the West right now.
Yes, they have now lost 3-0 in their last two games to the Galaxy and RSL. That's not looking too well for LAFC going into a match against Portland, who just beat their biggest rivals.
And everybody is trying to figure out what happened. Remember, this is the LAFC team that broke records last year, smashed records. They won the Supporter Shield, best goal differential, points. They killed everybody. And for them to be having this much trouble is shocking. And you can say that it has a large part to do with their injuries. They are missing key pieces. Carlos Vela has played, I think, 2 games all season. Edward Atuesta, one of their key midfield pieces, hasn't played a game since the end of the tournament. Mark Anthony Kaye missed their game against RSL because of a red card, so he should be back against Portland. But it's not a full strength LAFC squad. Portland isn't at full strength without Blanco, but I still think that Portland couldn't take care of business against this LAFC squad.
Even with them flying down to LA?
Even with them flying down to LA, and no fans means home field advantage is thrown out the window. We've already seen LAFC, who barely loses at home. They've lost at home. Seattle lost at home. Portland's lost at home. Home field advantage, I think, is pretty neutralized without fans in the stands.
I agree with that statement. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in this match because I don't remember the last time I've seen a Portland squad without Blanco. It seems like he's just been there forever. Um, but yeah, it'll be an interesting match. I think it'll be a decently close match. I don't think LAFC is going to give up 3 goals, 3 matches in a row. So look for them to tighten up their defense. If they're not going to go for the win, they're at least going to go for a tight draw. So I'm expecting a defensive battle in this one. But I still see Portland winning this one. I think that Portland will come out 2-1 victors.
I've got Portland winning this one 2-1 as well. LAFC did rest Bradley Wright Phillips against RSL, so he should be starting on Sunday. And he's been scoring goals all season, and so that's why I don't think Portland's going to keep the shutout. But Portland's got more firepower. They've got more momentum heading their way. Although I've preached about momentum so many times this year and then been so wrong that I don't know.
The 2020 season has really made us look foolish with our predictions, I feel.
Yes, it has. For those of you wanting to watch that game is Sunday at 8 o'clock Pacific time down in LA. I don't think it's nationally televised, so unless you live in the LA or Portland regions, you'll have to watch it on ESPN Plus, which is where I will be watching it.
So let's get into the match coming up with Seattle versus San Jose. As we were talking about with San Jose, they are in the cellar now, which is good news for Vancouver fans. Yeah, so San Jose is in the cellar. They lost their match to the Galaxy or to LAFC, excuse me, 5-1.
And they just recently tied Colorado 1-1.
Yes, I was trying to find that. There's my notes right there.
Look, this San Jose squad is a tough team. Let's not deny them that, because they tied Seattle in the MIB tournament. They can play tough. I feel like it's so hit or miss with this team because of their style of play, because of their man marking system, that it either works or it doesn't so obviously that it's not like an RSL side where RSL has been a very scrappy team all season, coming from behind and just finding goals. If it's working for San Jose, you will know it early on. Right now, it's not going well, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they got rid of their DP midfielder, so they're playing with less firepower, and without that firepower, teams feel less threatened by them, and so that's why they're losing to a lot of teams like LAFC 5-1. That's why we're seeing results like that, and that's why they are in the cellar. So Seattle being at home, coming off a loss against Portland, I'm heavily favoring Seattle in this one.
I completely agree with that one. I think that Seattle should get the victory. I don't think they'll let a loss to Portland really get in the way of them. They're sitting near the top of the standings. They want to stay at the top of the standings. And they're not going to let a team that's in dead last do anything with that. I expect a 2-0 victory for Seattle. I don't think it's going to be overly, or I'm not expecting to be over the top for a victory, but I do think it's going to be a convincing 2-0 victory for Seattle.
Mm-hmm. When I look at this one, try to make a projection, I want to lean towards your route. There's two players on the field that make me lean slightly towards San Jose, although they're not going to win it. The two players that I'm really looking out for, one on both sides. The first one is the Cascadia killer, Chris Wondolowski, projected to start. He likes to find the back of the net against Cascadia, no doubt about that. And then the other player is Jordy Delem. We need to get this guy off the field. Okay. The Jordy Delem experiment has failed. Look, the guy is now 27 or 28. He's been with Seattle for, I can't even remember how many seasons now, but it's definitely been enough. He's no longer a young player. He's a veteran. He's been with this squad. He's been with these guys for a while. But when he's out there, he looks so disjointed from the rest of the team that he frustrates me. He makes Paulo have to work harder. He makes Roldan have to work harder. He makes all the players around him have to work harder because he does not have soccer IQ. He does not have the soccer IQ that other players have. That being said, with Danny Leva's injury and Gustav Svensson being out in Sweden for the national team right now, I shouldn't say Sweden, he's in Europe, wherever they're playing. He's the only one to put there. Unless you move Roldan back in the middle, which I think would be the smarter decision, and start Handwalla Buana out on the wing. That's my opinion. I'm not Coach Schmetzer. I think he's failing this team by starting Jordy Delem. And if
Yeah,
Seattle loses this match, it's because of him.
man, that's a lot on one player. Um, One thing to note with Svensson is he did get red carded in his last match with Sweden, and so his return to Seattle could be sooner than expected. More than likely, not against San Jose, but maybe for the next match for Seattle. But that's something to note for Sounders fans. Um, I do agree with you with Delem that he is a bit frustrating to watch on the field. I don't know if I would go into the full extent. I like to give him a little bit of credit. Uh,
I've given
so
him
I'm not gonna.
credit for too many years.
I don't want to be as harsh as you were just with him.
If Danny Leva was healthy, he would be starting in that position. And it's bumming me out that he's not because I'm a huge Danny Leva fan and want to see him develop as a player. But because Danny Leva is injured, it is Delem getting the start. So,
Could
I
you
haven't given my prediction yet. I should probably do that. I'm going to say Seattle 1-0. If Delem is starting, they're only finding the back of the net one time. 1-0 Seattle.
and keeping Wando out of the goal, huh?
I think so because San Jose's just been so disjointed and in Seattle. If we were in San Jose, I'd give Wando a goal. But
Okay. One thing that I'm kind of thinking of is Ibarra. What if could you see Ibarra starting over Delem?
well, that's not going to happen unless they decide to put Christian Roldan back in the middle. I don't know why they're keeping him out there because while he's played decent out there, that's not his best position. Roldan is better in the middle. Put one of our wingers out there and keep players in their true position. But I've said this a few years ago. I never thought Schmetzer played well with his backup players, his bench players. He never uses them properly. It never pans out for him. A lineup out there, Schmetzer's teams are phenomenal. But anytime he has to do any fiddling with players, it just never seems to work.
Hmm. Well, we'll have to see what happens in this match. If you want to catch the match, it's going to be on local TV. So it's going to be on Joe TV for anyone in California. It's going to be on NBC Sports California, also on ESPN Plus, and that's going to be at 7 o'clock Thursday, September 10th.
I hope you guys enjoy watching some soccer. And as always, go Cascadia.